Tommy. Tommy. Hi, George here, and welcome to part 2 of this video series on how we're going to aquascape this classic nature aquarium. If you've not seen part 1 yet, then check out the link up there. Also in the description, we talked about the substrate system, hardscape and the plants that we're using. This video, we're going to add loads more plants. We'll talk about those in more detail, and I can't wait to get started. I love aquascaping so much, and it's so cool to share it with you guys. So if you're interested in aquascaping, then consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell and you'll get notified every time we upload a new video. So I recorded part 1 of this video 3 days ago, and since then I haven't actually filled the aquarium with water. I've just kept the plants moist by spraying them occasionally and covering the aquarium with cling film. I've obviously removed the cling film now. I'll just give them a spray to stop them from drying out while I prepare the new plants. So some of you may have noticed what I've done with the lighting. So rather than using the twin star lighting at this moment, I've swiveled the Kessel light from the 1200 180 degrees, so it's actually lighting this aquarium, and it makes it super easy to work in instead of having the 600 twin star spanning the aquarium. We will be using the twin star long term. This is just a temporary solution to lighting the tank while we're working in it. Okay, first plant I'm going to prep is the Cryptocoryne albida brown from Tropica. This is going to go behind the parva and act as a transitional plant. So transitional plants are great because they just make this nice transition from the foreground to the background. What can happen is if you have a very short plant at the front and then that leads to a much taller plant, it can look a little bit too obvious, a little bit too contrasting. So we like to use transitional plants. Cryptocoryne albida brown is a classic crypt, very slow growing, doesn't demand much light. Does best, as with all plants, with CO2 injection and a nutrient-rich substrate and decent liquid fertiliser, which is what we'll be using in this setup. And preparing the plant, exactly the same as other crypts. Try to divide it up if you can. Use my thumbnail and forefinger. And then what I also like to do is you tear the roots to about a centimetre or so, and this stimulates new root growth. Now if there's any stone wool left over, you can quickly rinse that off in a bucket of water, and then we have our prepared plant, simple as that. So to plant, we simply put our crypt in between our tweezers, push it into the soil, and then release, and hopefully it will stay there. Now the soil is a little bit moist, for now I've been spraying it. If you watched part 1 of this, you know we planted just a couple of species. We planted the parva, which you can see at the front here, the Anubias petite here, Bucophilandra, Microsorum narrow, and now we're adding a few more species. And the aim is to almost completely cover the substrate. The more plants we have, the healthier those plants are, the more chance of success we have and the less risk of algae. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Dave from Aquarium Gardens for giving me a cheeky little discount on these. I am using some species which I'll explain later that I've never used before, so as an aquascaper and a bit of a plant geek, I'm really excited to be able to try out new species. Scape a bit of a spray again. It's important to note actually that some plants are more prone to drying out than others. The most risky are Microsorum, Echinodorus or Amazon swords, and Bulbitis. We've only got Microsorum today. Okay, next we've got more crypts. Never actually grown this one, Cryptocoryne legroi, and what else do we have? Cryptocoryne species red. No idea what this is going to look like. Maybe it's going to go red, who knows? So always excited to try new plants out, especially if they're Cryptocorynes. So I'm going to just check the label out and see how tall they grow, and then we can figure out where in the aquascape they go. So 10 to 20 centimetres, that's perfect. So we'll put that behind the albida brown, and then what's this one? This is the species red, 10 to 30. So that would make sense to put behind the legroi. These are sun grow plants. I've never actually used this supplier before. I think they're a Dutch plant supplier. Don't seem so robust as some of the other plant suppliers that I use. Hopefully they'll turn out okay in the aquarium. They seem to be quite delicate, the root structure and the physical structure of the plant itself, so it'll be interesting to see how they turn out in the longer term. As a plant geek, this is super exciting to me. We have a plant that I've never actually heard of, let alone grown before, called Persicaria praetermisa ruby. So if any of you guys watching this have heard of this or know anything about it, I'd really love to hear what you think or any experiences. Let me know in the comments. According to the label, it grows to 15 centimetres tall, so ideal for the mid-ground. 15 centimetres is 6 inches for my imperial friends. Preparing it exactly the same as any other plant. Remove it from the pot, take away the stone wool, and then separate the stems. And to get rid of the residual stone wool, we can just give it a little rinse in the bucket of water here. We have them, simple as that, prepared. Well, quite a few stems there. So really interesting to see how this is going to do. It's got flowers, it's obviously been flowering emerged, which means growing out of water or hydroponically. I'm going to actually produce a video dedicated to emerged versus submerged plants. Loads of questions about this, and it's really worthwhile delving into as a separate topic. Probably as a Scape School Sunday, make it a dedicated topic, I would say. Okay, next plant. That's actually quite a tricky plant in my experience. Tends to be quite slow to adapt to its submerged growth and can attract algae, I think, due to this transitional period. But I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to use quite a lot of CO2 in this tank, so it should be okay. And it's a beautiful background plant, Cyperus helferi. I can't wait to use it. It's going to add an instant sort of background effect and going to droop over the whole scape and should look really beautiful. So prepare it, you should know how we do this by now. Remove the pots. Okay, we're almost planted, just a couple more species to go. I've got some mini Christmas moss that's been kindly donated by Dave from Aquarium Gardens, and also some Ricardia chamedryfolia that's kindly been donated by Steve, who works at Aquarium Gardens. In fact, a bit of an exclusive for you, the next Meet the Scaper episode will be featuring Steve and his 3 epic aquascapes, so you can look forward to that really soon. I'm going to start off by gluing the mini Christmas moss, so I'm looking for the biggest kind of open areas on the wood. And the great thing about moss is it adds this instant sense of maturity, this ancient feel, this real kind of naturalistic appearance I absolutely love. It's really akin to this nature aquarium style. Okay guys, really exciting. Planting's complete, really happy with it. Some of my favourite plants, some brand new plants that I've never used before, so super excited for that as well. Time to fill. We know what we're going to use for filling, don't we? Just let me get it for you. The red colander. So I'm going to fill a different way to usual in this scape, normally just buckets, but I'm going to refill pumping the water directly from the mains, adding some dechlorinator on the way. It's going to make the process much easier rather than going back and forward with 9 or 10 buckets of water. Okay guys, just to show you how I pump the water in, we've got a 1,000 litre per hour pump in the bottom of this bucket. The bucket is constantly refilling around about the same time as the pump is withdrawing the water from the bucket. Then there's a hose that goes all the way to the tank. It goes through a filter inlet and then through the colander and then into the aquarium, and we just wait until the tank's filled up. We can add some dechlorinator right now, and that's going to make sure we don't get harmful levels of chlorine in the water. The tank is filled. We had a little bit of a drama as I was filling. We had some floating wood, even though I thought I took all the precautions. We pre-soaked the wood. I knew it was a little bit floaty, so I leaned the stones on it, buried it in the soil, but still it wasn't enough to prevent it from floating. So we did have one of the pieces of wood float. It uprooted a couple of the epiphyte plants, became detached. And I've added a piece of mini landscape rock in the background. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a different kind of texture and colour to the Frodo, but I've attached more rheophyte, epiphyte plants, some mosses, and I've actually taken a few plants from the 1200, put them in there as well, just to give it more of a mature look. It hasn't really made much of an impact on the 1200, it's so mature anyway. Next step is to fit all of the equipment and get everything running. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed that video, part 2 of how to aquascape a classic nature aquarium. Really enjoyed making this one. Hope you enjoyed the scape as well as the process of how I made the scape. You might be able to guess what my next question is going to be. What fish shall we put in there? Let me know in the comments, guys. And you might be wondering, why has George changed location? I did film the last part of the video at home, but unfortunately my microphone wasn't turned on. So I got to Scape Nature, where I am right now, a friend's shop that's opening soon, and realised when I was doing the edit that I didn't turn the microphone on, so here I am. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed that, guys. Let me know in the comments what fish would you put in the scape, and you take care. Keep on scaping. Cheerio.